Ole Miss beats Texas 72-69 the final. Trey Johnson for Texas was as advertised, had 22 points, but Ole Miss really did a good job of shutting him down in the second half. Sean Padula led all Rebels in scoring with 19. He was 7 of 14 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, and then with a minute left in the game, made a really nice little, like he attacked the basket and then stopped and did like this little mid-range fadeaway and drained it, and that, I guess, was the game-winning shot. Even though Ole Miss ended up winning by 3. Dre Davis and Jamin Brakefield. Brakefield had 18. Dre Davis had 17. Both of them, though, what's crazy is they had 18 and 17 points. There's good scoring nights for both of them, although Brakefield a little inefficient. Dre Davis played his best game for Ole Miss since Louisville. I think both of their impacts, though, were more felt defense and other stuff than scoring, even though they, again, 18 and 17 points. Brakefield in the game had 1 steal, 1 block, but played really good defense. And Dre Davis had 7 rebounds, a steal, and 2 blocks. It was...
And he had the free throws at the end, right?
So that was actually Barnes who had the free throws at the end. And that was a kind of a cool moment for him, a bit of a redemption spot, because you remember he missed the front end of a 1-and-1. Yeah. And he gets a rebound with, 8 seconds left. And instead of, Padula was calling for the ball behind him. And you could kind of see where he got the rebound and he was like, nope, this is me. I'm going to take these shots. Like very confidently just held onto the basketball, waited to get fouled, stepped up to the line, and instead of missing like he did on Tuesday, knocked them both down, forcing Texas to take a rushed, albeit kind of an open 3 to tie instead of any basket to win. So that was kind of a cool redemption arc for him, going from missing the front end of a 1-and-1, Texas A&M comes down, scores, wins the game, to on the line with the opportunity to essentially ice the game, knocks them both down. But, yeah, it was one of those games, Haydad, that we talked about yesterday for Ole Miss. We said they are going to get they're going to be in a close game. I mean, we straight up said this. They're going to be in a close game. Mm-hmm. How do they respond to it? And last night, they responded to it by making those free throws when they needed to, by getting the stops defensively when they needed them. They did not turn it over on an inbound. I mean, miracle. They did not turn it over on an inbound. They only turned it over 4 times in the game. So it was Ole Miss this time that executed, that made their free throws, that protected the basketball. They played really good defense in the second half as well. And they closed and won a close game. Stops the bleeding on the 3-game skid. They do it in front of their home crowd. You know, Texas isn't a resume line item, but hey, Dad, if you can believe it, this is the SEC. Texas is 1 spot away from that being a quad 1 win.
Yeah.
1 spot away.
There's no bad wins in the SEC this year. None.
No.
You beat South Carolina, you beat LSU. That's a good win.
You do it when, Dia didn't give you much and was kind of unplayable in the second half in some spurts. Matt Morrell is clearly very hurt and playing through injury, but very hurt. Mm-hmm. And they closed a tight game. So they stopped the skid. They get their 5th win. They do it in the clutch. Closed well. At one point in the first half, they were down 13 and Texas had the ball. Mm-hmm. And I believe Texas had the ball and had a 3-point shot in the air in the first half, up 13. And Ole Miss went into the locker room down 4. Mm-hmm. So they got off to a bad start again, but they cut it to 4 and then won the second half and won in the clutch. And that was big for all of those reasons for Ole Miss last night.
Yeah, it's like we talked about. It was going to be a close game. It was probably going to be closer than Ole Miss fans wanted it to be. But we both thought Ole Miss would come out on top, and that's exactly what they did. They had to get this win, because they lost 3 in a row. And you were looking, as the betting world would tell us, Ole Miss will be an underdog in their next 2 games with Auburn and Kentucky.
They could be a slight favorite against Kentucky at home, but they will not be a favorite on Saturday.
No. So, you just can't afford to have a 6-game losing streak in the middle of conference play. It's just, I feel like if you get into a 6-game losing streak, that's when you're going to end up finding a really bad loss. Like, who does Ole Miss play after Kentucky? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head. I should, but I don't. Let me tell you. So after Kentucky, it's LSU and Baton Rouge.
So that's where, you lose 6 straight. You go down to that game in Baton Rouge, and all of a sudden you're in such a funk that you might lose that one, and then you've got a loss where you're like, okay, what's going on here? So it was imperative to win this game, get some confidence back going into this game with Auburn, and we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see how Ole Miss plays against Auburn. Ole Miss is the team that was able to break down Alabama a little bit and knock them off their game. I'll be interested to see if they can do it with Auburn,
especially since Auburn has played these close games on the road, and eventually they're going to got. Maybe it is this weekend. Somebody on the text line says Matt Morrell lit it up again. Time to rest his injury if that's the problem. Here's the thing, though. He only scored 3 points last night. He only took 4 shots, but had 4 assists and 2 steals. And down the stretch, despite clearly having an injury that doesn't allow him to jump to dunk the basketball. Hey, Dad, there was another clean break for him after a steal. Laid it up. He can't dunk right now. He's that hurt. But played lockdown defense down the stretch. He impacted the outcome of that game just because he went 1 of 4 from the field. You can't just say, well, he had a bad game. 4 assists, 2 steals. Did not turn the basketball over. And if you go back and watch that game on Texas's possessions down the stretch, he was playing intense lockdown defense through that injury. So part of me wonders if they should give him some time off to try to figure it out. But I don't know if they win that game without him last night. Even though he only scored 3 points, I think he affected the game in other ways that allowed them to win the game. So they've just got to get scoring from other guys at this point because it's not going to come from him. The thing that stands out to me the most in this game, though, for Ole Miss is they finally got to the free throw line. How many times, hey, Dad, did we talk about how Ole Miss is not attacking the basket?
Right.
They shot 25 free throws last night, and
that's a formula to win for Ole Miss with the way they shoot. That's how they do it.
They were intentional about getting to the basket and drawing contact, and
intentional? Is Coach Levy here? What's going on here? Coach?
But you could tell that whatever they were doing offensively, like we talked about, at times where they were just kind of, dribble the shot clock out and there's very little off-ball movement. There was a handful of backdoor cuts last night. Guards were more intentional about attacking the basket, the free throw distribution. A lot of guys got to the line because they attacked Texas. They got to the line, and, they make 19 free throws, and Texas shot 14. There's your game right there, and they were able to close it out and get the win. We'll talk.